The ad's over. We can start a couple minutes early. It's a little bit before 8, but that's alright. I wish my camera would stop doing that. I don't know why it does that. It might be the NVIDIA, perhaps. But yeah. Happy Saturday. I hope you are well. We are continuing on with the Unplayed series. We are into the K's now, and this game is Kerbal Space Program. It is a game that was originally launched in 2015, and it has overwhelmingly positive reviews. Apparently, you build spaceships, which sounds pretty cool. I actually got this in Humble Bundle twice. The first one that I got it in was for the Fight for Racial Justice Humble Bundle in 2020, and I didn't redeem it then, so I have an extra Steam key. And the one where I actually redeemed it was the Stand with Ukraine bundle in 2022. So, whether 2 years or 4 years, up to you, how long it's been waiting to be played. And really like 2.5, because it was March of 2022 when I got the Stand with Ukraine bundle, so. But yeah, I guess we will hop in and give it a shot. It says, what's new in Kerbal Space Program on Final Approach? We're excited to bring you the 10th anniversary, adding more content than ever. First, we'll have 2 major apps available. Alarm clock app. Heap of content for our 10-year anniversary. So they kept releasing things for like 10 years, I guess? On Final Approach's last major planned release for Kerbal Space Program, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure working on this game. So they released content for this game for almost 10 years. And then they finally released a sequel. Unity Analytics, okay. Alright, so I guess start game. I don't have anything saved. Oh, training, that sounds good. Getting started and basic construction. Ugh. Still a little sleepy. We're waking up. This tutorial, presented by famous rocket scientist Werner von Kerman himself, covers the basics of rocket construction in the vehicle assembly building. He is waiting for you down there and is always in high demand. Don't dally. Welcome to today's lecture on vessel construction. I'm Werner von Kerman. Whether you want to put a satellite into orbit, make a transcontinental flight, or step onto the very surface of the moon, you're going to need to build yourself a ship. Should be pretty easy even if you're not a famous rocket scientist like myself. In this tutorial, I will first show you around the Kerbal Space Center, and then I will take you to Vehicle Assembly Building, where you'll learn how to construct a simple ship. We'll cover adding and removing parts, what the parts do, how to change the performance settings of the parts which have that option, and how to control staging. At the end of the tutorial, you will have a craft fit for a quick hop from the launch pad. At each step, I will lock out all controls other than the ones you need for that step. If you still manage to mess it up, it took me some time to become as skilled as I am now, you can press the back button to go back and fix things. It won't light up unless you do mess up. So if you manage... We are now at the Kerbal Space Center. I'll give you a quick rundown on how to get around. The KSC, for short, is home... That's really annoying me, the flickering. Maybe if I, adjust the camera some, it'll shut up. The KSC, for short, is home to the pinnacle of Kerbal endeavor and achievements for space exploration. Using the facilities you can see here, you know what I might have to do eventually? So my NVIDIA has not updated for I don't know, a year and a half because I am still using Windows 10 very stubbornly. I might have to update to Windows 11 so that I can get the latest updates for it to perform properly. I really don't want to do that. I hate OS updates, but it might be time soon. It might be time soon. It makes me sad. KSC for short is home to pinnacle of Kerbal endeavor and achievements for space exploration. Using the facilities you can see here, you will be able to manage your space program, create rockets and planes, track your Kerbal explorers as they roam the solar system, find exciting new uses for explosive substances, and in case of emergency, hire more Kerbals. To find out about each of the facilities, you can hover your mouse over them, or the facilities buttons. They show up when a cursor is outside this window. If you need to repair a structure or upgrade them in career, you can do this by right-clicking them. Take some time to hover the mouse over the buildings and see which each are, and when you're ready, enter the vehicle assembly building. Administration building. May not seem like a very exciting place at first, but here's where all our strategic decisions are made. Astronaut Complex contains the living and recreation spaces for all our crew members. New applicants also apply here to be recruited. The spaceplane hangar allows construction of spacecraft designed to be launched from the runway. Mission Control Facility, all available contracts can be managed. Also offers a very nice view of launch sites for any who are brave enough to be so close to a launching craft. Vehicle Assembly Building, where spacecraft are designed and built before being moved over to launch pad for flight. Research and Development. At R&D Facility, our team of scientists work hard to crunch the data received from mission experiments. Here, all technologies can be viewed and new ones can be discovered. Oh, this is all research and development over here. Can I move the camera? No. The tracking station. Tracking station. All ongoing missions can be viewed and focused. Landed craft can be recovered from here as well. And the runway. At the runway, spacecraft built in the spaceplane hangar have a long flat surface to reach takeoff speed. Conceivably, such aircraft could even land back onto it. And then these are the buttons. Oh, flagpole. It's the official flag of the space program. Or we could change it. The launch pad is over there. The launch pad is where vessels built at the VBA are launched. We are reasonably confident it is at a safe distance from everything else. So that's got to be back there behind the window there. Okay. What you see in the middle of the screen is the construction area. This is where parts are placed and your craft is constructed. On the left side of the screen is the parts toolbox. We'll show you all the parts you have available in each of the different categories once they're ready to pick, that is. If you want your craft to be controllable, you need a command module, and it's best to make it the first part you place. This part will either contain some plucky Kerbal crew or an automated pilot mechanism. As we are just starting, there's only one choice. Go ahead and pick the command module from the Pods tab. After at least one part is placed, you can look around with the following controls. You can orbit the camera using the arrow keys or right mouse drag. Move the camera up and down with a scroll wheel. And you can zoom the camera with keypad plus or keypad minus or shift plus scroll wheel. Okay. Seems legit. If you would like your pilot to be able to make more than one flight, he or she will have to return safely to the ground or water on Kerbin. Parachutes are a simple way to make sure that happens. They can be found in the Utility tab. Change tabs by clicking the icons on the left of the list part window. When you are choosing parts, you can view the details of available parts by hovering over them in the toolbox. When the info is visible, most parts have additional information which can be opened with a right click. Note the parachute states the effective diameter in each state and what the maximum safe speed for deployment is. Go ahead and select the MK16 parachute by left-clicking, then move it on top of the command pod so that the green sphere at the bottom of the parachute lines up with the green sphere at the top of the pod. Click again to attach. Okay. So, we are looking for utility. At the bottom here. Select it. Okay, so and then I don't actually see any green orbs, but we'll say that that's correct. They kind of glow green. Some parts, like our parachute here, have configurable options. To see these, we need to right-click on the parachute just attached to the pod. You'll see the available parameters. But they are behind stuff. No! They are behind, I cannot see. Can I move this window? Oh! I can move the window. That's just a left click and drag. BT dub. On this parachute, we can see we can adjust our altitude and atmospheric pressure at which to open. That setting can be quite useful on distant worlds. For now, let's check the opening height on the chute is at least 1,000 meters. With a pressure slider, move it a bit to the right to 0.2. This setting prevents the chute from activating until the atmospheric pressure is above the configured value. On Kerbal, 0.2 is about 9 kilometers in altitude, so even if you stage early and arm the parachute, it will wait till then to activate. You can hide these options by right-clicking on the background scene or picking up another part where there's one available. When you're happy with that, we can proceed. Oh, to 0.2. Like that. And then altitude, I'm assuming is in meters. Next up, we are going to need something to make us go. Click on the Engines tab. Grab one and connect to the bottom of the pod. You may need to zoom or move the camera to be able to do so. Engines! Do 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 do. Here is an engine! We're gonna click it. I don't even have to zoom out. I forgot you're just starting out. You're not a famous rocket scientist, and to make that craft survivable as it stands now, you'd better be rocket science than me. Haha, impossible. Problem with that craft is that this solid rocket is too powerful for the payload, a single small pod and chute. It will either burn up on ascent from going too fast, or burn up coming down. Even if you survive that, the craft's mass will cause it to fall too fast for the parachute to operate properly, and you'd hit the surface before it could stop you. Okay, I promise to teach you how to change that to make it work later tutorial, but for now let's continue. Well, at least this way I get to tell you about removing parts. Pick up the back thumper and either drop it back over the parts toolbox or press delete. I pressed delete. Instead, let's add the solid motor that's a better match for a ship of this size. At the start of your career, you will have what I consider rubbish parts. Literally, the motor here looks like and may well be a converted trash can. That said, it does have enough oomph to get this little craft moving skyward and quickly. As you progress, you will unlock more engines and other parts. For now, let's pick up the RT-5 Flea and connect it to the bottom of the pod. You have built the simplest survivable craft possible. We could go launch this thing right now, but it might be safer to explain one other thing first. In the bottom right, you'll see the staging stack. It is the box with the number 0 and icons for the parachute and engine in it. The stack shows us which parts will be activated as we stage our rocket. So this thing. What this shows is that when we activate the next stage, both the engine and the parachute will be triggered. While it could be considered funny to open the chute and fire the motor at the same time, it's not going to give you much of a flight. To fix this, we need to separate the engine and chute into 2 stages. If you mouse over the 0 stage, you will see a little plus and minus appear to the left of the box. Click the plus button to add a new stage. If you add too many, click the minus button on the extra ones to remove them. Make sure you have precisely 2 stages. Hang on, I'm going to move this. Plus. It's important to note stages activate from highest number and then count down. So our first stage will be stage 1, the engine, and the second one will be our chute, 0. So drag the engine icon from stage 0 to stage 1 to give our pilot some comfort. That's it. We now have relatively safe craft that's ready to go. Let's make sure that if we need this design again, we don't have to build it all from scratch. At the top of the screen, you will see the name for our craft. Untitled spacecraft doesn't seem to be so majestic. Why don't you change that to be something more your style, and you can add a description if you'd like to. When you use the load screens later, these names and descriptions can help you grab the right vessel. When you're happy with the name, click on the save icon in the upper right. Excellent work! Feel free to play around with the parts and techniques I've shown you, and when you're ready to continue, press the red button in the upper right to exit. Back at the training menu, try the Flight Basics tutorial to learn how to fly this little craft, and then the Intermediate Construction tutorial can teach you more about the editor. Any vessels you create here will be lost when you exit. This is just for playing around. Okay. But yay, we did the first tutorial! Basic flight. Trust you've done basic construction. Today we'll do a run through of the important controls for your little spacecraft, or our little hopper from your basic construction lesson with Werner. May not have all of them, but we'll do a full run through once, see how it flies. Okay. Flying a spacecraft is all about being in control of a generally very chaotic situation. As a pilot, your main flight controls will affect the pitch, yaw, and roll of the ship. Let's look at those first. All of the controls will be locked until they are needed or this tutorial is closed. Pitch, yaw, and roll are the 3 directions you will rotate your craft. Taking a holiday snap of the hopper below, okay? You control your ship's rotation using these controls. S and W to pitch up and down, A and D to yaw left and right, and Q and E to roll left and right. By controlling pitch, yaw, and roll together, you can keep the ship in a controlled flight. Try it now, and notice the indicator on the lower left side move as you provide control input. So, yeah. And then A and D. Q and E. Okay. Throttle plus pitch, yaw, and roll are the main controls you need to master for a successful crash-free flight. We will skip over the throttle control for now, as this vessel has no need for it. Don't worry, I'll explain it another time when it's of use. Remember, all of these controls have a limited amount of effectiveness, so bigger, heavier ships will probably respond much more sluggishly to the controls than a little small one. That makes sense. It also is good to keep in mind that as stages are separated from the ship, it will become lighter, and this will usually mean easier to control. Let's look at the rest of the flight controls. In flight, all the planning you put into staging sequence of your ship comes into play. From launch to the final deployment of the descent parachute, you can control the activation of several of the ship's parts by activating stages. Spacebar launches or activates the next stage. Note the stage indicator in the lower left corner. It shows the currently active stage. So if you haven't launched yet, it's showing the first stage as active. I have your staging controls locked for now, so the stage indicator is glowing purple. One more thing on staging. If staging setup is causing strife or you change your mind about something, you can edit the stage sequence on the fly, no pun intended. No need to go back to the assembly facility. An important part of flying is knowing how your ship is oriented and where it is going. That's why a good pilot is always aware of the ship's altitude, where it is pointing, and its velocity vector, where it is going. These aren't always the same direction, and as your skills improve, you should pick up on these. The big round instrument on the lower center of the screen is called the nav ball. This device sums up most of the critical information needed for proper death-free flight. Here you see the ship's nose in relation to the horizon. When you are not pointing straight up, it's easily visible as a line between blue sky and brown ground, as well as its heading, compass bearing, and speed. You also get several icons that indicate things like your current velocity vector, but we'll have a look at those later. In the top center of the screen, you have your altimeter, vertical speed indicator, and atmosphere gauges. The altimeter will show distance to the planet's surface at sea level. This means the actual surface may be closer, so watch the ground when landing. Your vertical speed indicator shows how quickly your altitude is changing. When launching, it's considered best to keep this gauge pointing up. Seems like it makes sense. Atmosphere gauge indicates how deep the ship is in the planet's atmosphere. This will help you know if the ship is high enough for orbiting without losing speed to air resistance, or judge how effective wings and control surfaces may be. One last thing before we give the rocket the green light. In staging stack, you can see the indicator for your parachute. This indicator shows when the chute will be activated by staging. You already know that, but the background will also change color to indicate when it is safe to stage the parachute, and the foreground, the parachute bit of the icon itself, will change color depending on the parachute state. Note, however, that by default, parachutes will not deploy when unsafe, even if you stage them. The left three show safety. Safe, risky, and unsafe to deploy. The chute is unstaged, white, in the left three. The right three show after staging, arm deployed and cut, shredded. When you are familiar with the chute icon colors, we can move on. So I think I have figured out why this game uses aliens. And it is because this is so complicated that I am probably going to kill some people. Like, that's probably what's going to happen. Enough talk, I will unlock the flight controls and you'll be clear for launch. At any time, you may press escape to pause the game. In the pause menu, you can restart the flight or end this tutorial and return to the main menu. For now, get yourself prepared and hit space when ready to launch. Don't forget, our hopper has only a solid rocket motor, and so there's no throttle control. That's why we didn't review the throttle here. Make sure to fly in a nice high arc and enjoy the flight. Okay. Ugh. So we're just going to keep going up. Your solid motor is burned out. You are passing the highest point of your flight, and your speed is low enough that it's safe to stage the deployed parachute. Do so now before you speed up again and hit the surface. And now we sit back and enjoy descent. Valentina Kerman looks very happy in her flight position. It's like, ooh, ah. I tried to position myself for a water landing. It looks like I'm going to achieve that. Yeah. Landing gently, oh so gently. Only 150 meters now. I'm a little hungry, man. Land in the water. Ooh, I can see my shadow. Well done! You have survived your first quick flight. Whether you've landed or splashed on Kerbal and not in training, you can point the mouse just above the altimeter and click the recover button to ask to be picked up. I have also launched unlocked the crew hatch, so if you feel like going out for a walk or a swim, you can click the EVA, extravehicular activity button, that will pop up when you mouse over the portrait of Kerbal you want to take for a walk. You can do it just for fun or to collect a surface sample. This concludes today's lesson. To exit the training, you press escape to access the pause menu and choose end scenario to return to the main menu. Hope that you learn about suborbital flight, perhaps. Bye. End scenario. End scenario. Moon or bust? I don't know, should I keep doing trainings? There are like a lot of these. At the same time, it's probably a good idea for me to look at these since I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if it's boring just watching tutorials, though. Maybe I'll see if I can speed through the tutorials a little bit. Go over back to the VAB. East one. Expand your knowledge and build a more complex craft that'll be able to get us out of the atmosphere. To build our new design, let's start with the craft we built in the basic construction. Open the hopper. Load. Then remove its motor. Goodbye. If you mess up, you can recreate the craft from the parts list by placing a pod. Delete the craft somehow, close the load dialog, and open it again. The craft will be back. Hi, devils. Indeed, Kerbal is on the list. Unlike last time, we won't be bringing the whole vessel back, so we can change our parachute stats from what we used before. Right-click on the parachute and verify its deployment altitude is set to 1,000 meters. Moving. But also set the minimum pressure slider to 0.75. That corresponds to an altitude on Kerbal of about 2 kilometers, meaning much more a shorter time of hanging around during descent. Let's change the name of our craft. And description, so we still have our trash can special for later. Simply change the name to something other than Hopper and we can proceed. Tutorial 2. Adding some extra functionality. We'll switch to the Science tab. Okay. Science. It's one of the most basic scientific experiments Kerbal scientists have devised. One of the first things they want to try and understand better. I mean, they don't even know what color the goo is. Mystery Goo Containment Unit. When you pick up the part, you'll see that it's designed to attach the sides of other parts radially. If we attach only one of these, our flight might be unbalanced. One way to solve this is to add an extra goo container on the opposite side of the rocket so that they balance. We have a symmetry tool to help that. These buttons control symmetry and angle snap, and they can be found on the lower left of the screen. Press the symmetry button or press the X key to cycle through available symmetry modes. Set this to ×2, and then pick up and place a Mystery Goo Containment Unit on the side of the pod near the top. You notice the second one has been placed opposite. You already placed a lone canister. Pick it up, make sure symmetry is set correctly, and place it again so it has a duplicate on the other side. Place it near the nose of the pod. Okay. You have no interest in this game. You only know about it because someone in a server you were a part of years ago. If we add too many more parts here, the craft we're making will be too heavy to survive re-entry safely and too heavy to be slowed down by our parachute, so we'll need to add a decoupler below the pod. Decouplers can be found in the coupling tab. Okay. Coupling, coupling, gonna find the coupling. They can be used in many ways, but let's just put it on the bottom. Alright. Putting it on the bottom. Note that stacked decouplers have arrows. Arrows show which side it is that decouples. Make sure your decoupler's arrow is pointing up. It will be by default. Well, previous tutorial we had to adjust the staging stack when we added the engine to our earlier rocket. When you add the decoupler, the extra stage is automatically added to the stack, so that any new parts below the decoupler won't be staged at the same time as those above it. You can still move all of those around, but hopefully they'll save you some time. Okay. We're going to use liquid propellant rocket engine. Unlike solid rocket motors, these engines don't carry their own propellants, so we'll need to add fuel to tanks. Go to the fuel tanks tab. Fuel tanks. Gonna need some fuel. I might have missed the there it is. We are still using these early parts, so only FTL hundreds are available. This is another area like engines where advancement brings bigger and better parts. Going to need 5 of these tanks to get us up to space. Before you grab 5 tanks from the part of the toolbox, let me give you another tip. Because efficiency is my middle name, it goes right after Vaughn. Once you place the first tank on the rocket, you can duplicate that by holding the left Alt key and clicking on the tank. You can do this with the bottom tank a few times to quickly get to 5. Okay. Here we go. Switch over to the engines tab. Yep. Swivel engine you see here is different from the fleet we used before. Liquid engine burns both liquid and oxidizer. That's what we just added to the rocket. Attach it to the bottom of the rocket stack now, and keep an eye on the staging stack to see how it changes. Oh yeah, add another stage. Adding fins for balance. You're almost there, you're doing fine, maybe not as speedily as someone of my caliber. Last thing we're going to need to do is give this rocket a little better stability. We'll achieve this by adding some fins near the bottom of the rocket. Fins can be found in the aerodynamics tab. Aerodynamics, oh where are you? Set the symmetry to ×4. Drop a basic fin on the last rocket tank. I guess like so. Ready to rock. We've now got a rocket that'll let us reach for the stars. Immediately said reach for us is a basic rocket which can't achieve orbit, but on the bright side that means re-entry will also be basic. You've done a great job in building a basic hopper and a suborbital capable rocket. Hopefully you will learn a few things. Feel free to hang around. Show yourself out of the construction facility with the red button to the top right. Okay. Time to do suborbital flight. Hopefully you remember the controls. Short suborbital, less than orbital flight out of the water to the east. It's a nice arcing path that ensures gentle survivable re-entry. Straight up then straight down is not so good for survival. I have set the pink target indicator on the nav ball as an aim point, but that's not the case for normal missions. Once you reach burnout, all the way down. Unlike the hopper, in our first lesson, this new craft has liquid fuel engines. This means we can use the throttle to set output of power of ship's engines. Throttle up, throttle down. Throttle max and throttle cut off. Okay. Okay. Stability augmentation system. Craft has a bit too much engine, so we're going to throttle down for the launch. Set your throttle to 2/3. Okay. Also turn on SAS to help control things. Okay. Some of the information is quite detailed. Yeah, no. Place a warning telling you might want to pause to read. Warning will look like this. Okay, enough talk. I will unlock the rest of the flight controls. Anytime you may press escape to pause the game. I've enabled the target marker. Double check. 2/3. SAS enabled, and then hit space. Remember to start turning at 50 meters per second. I think yaw is turning. Wait for a bit more speed before we start to turn. Follow the target marker. Begin to turn. Good work. Get ready to turn further once you reach 250. Got the rocket where it needs to be in order to reach space. Should be able to let SAS keep the craft steady while we accelerate further. Go ahead, turn the throttle up to full power. Looking along, hold the course, we'll reach burnout safety. Flickering flames, do the high speed. Okay. Now that we are coasting our way up to our highest point, we've got a little time to chat. Once you clear the atmosphere, we'll go over what you can do in space. Okay? Time for a stretch. So I know I'm only doing tutorials at the moment, but I do think that this is perhaps not my kind of game. Alright, well, we float up here beyond the atmosphere. I'll quickly tell you about a couple things you can do. With an advanced enough astronaut complex, we can train our Kerbals to be able to spacewalk, although we won't be doing that on this flight. When we are carrying science devices like goo containers, we can perform experiments. Feel free to play with the goo canisters now by right-clicking on them. I'll let you know when it's time for the next phase of suborbital flight. Maybe I need to zoom in to click on the goo canisters. Observe mystery goo. Mystery goo observation. Goo appears to have clumped into a sphere. It also appears to have become brittle. Huh. Okay. This seems like it would be really, really awesome for somebody who likes kind of open sandbox games. Okay, happened twice. We end the near atmosphere. We are going to the pod for get re-entry. Going to re-entry with pod and shoot, but we're not going to decouple. Real missions, best to keep your upper stage around until the last moment. You never know when you might need it. It's best to re-enter bottom first, and since we ascended at about 70 degrees, we'll let you re-enter at about negative, so we means you want to aim at the top of the capsule at 70 degrees pitch. Place the target marker. Turn SAS off, change your altitude, and then turn it back on again. Okay. Now hold steadily on your new altitude, let SAS do the job. Time to get rid of that booster. Stage to discard the unneeded parts. You are now re-entering. Make sure to keep hands and feet inside the pod. Last time we watched the parachute icon to wait. The right time to open chute. This time we're going to do something a little different. Remember the construction tutorial where you design this vessel, you set the chute to not semi-deploy until... So let's arm the chute now. Okay. Whoops. Sorry, Jebediah. Don't press the pressure slider. Bad things will happen. Note that you do not have a heat shield. This is such a gentle flight. A heat shield will make things more dangerous because additional mass will be pushing the limits of the model parachute. Yeah, so I'm just gonna let gravity take over and do it like that. There we go. So hang on until about 2 kilometers. Let the parachute trigger itself according to the settings we have chosen. Okay, so I think we're good now. But yeah, this is something for people who like space, like physics, like putting stuff together. Maybe an engineer would like this game. I don't know. I feel like it's not my thing though. I feel like this is kind of a simulator game, and I don't tend to like simulator games. There's parachute. Enjoy a nice leisurely float down to the surface. On the plus side, I did not kill Jebediah. I was a little worried there when I accidentally hit the controls and he started going like this. But yeah, I legit think that they made them aliens in case you accidentally kill them, you don't feel so bad. So yeah, I think this is a game that is for others and not for me. Hey, we landed. Welcome back. Congratulations on completing and even surviving your first real mission. You managed to launch, control your vessel in space, orient yourself correctly, and land safely. It's quite an achievement. If you want to practice this again, choose revert to launch from pause menu, otherwise end the scenario. And be sure to check out the other tutorials. The next one is going for orbit. It's really exciting. There's always more to learn. Yeah, I think we're gonna be done though. I think we're gonna be done. I know we are like only scratching the surface of this game. There's definitely a lot more to it. Apparently you can like go out into space and maybe even explore other planets in the solar system. You can gather samples and like basically be an astronaut exploring other planets. So like that's cool. But it's a simulator game, which is not something I super like. There's also, so there's multiple modes to this game. You can do career mode, where you're like not only doing the flights and stuff, but you're like doing the management of the NASA, basically, or whatever the Kerbal equivalent of NASA is. So budgets and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, that sounds even worse. But yeah. Yeah, Dark Legion, exactly. In short, it's a game I'm not into, even though I gave it a shot. I will say, if this is your cup of tea, I can see why this has such high reviews. It seems like it's a very well-made game, despite a typo here or there. Like, it seems big, and I will let you all know that on Steam, today, I don't know how long it's going to be on sale, but it's like 75% off. It's a 10-year-old game. There's a sequel out now, but this original game, 75% off. So if it's something you're interested in, you might want to check it out. But I think I'm trying to decide if I want to go to the next Unplayed game. It's early yet. Yeah, I'll have to install it. But yeah, I think we're going to run an ad and then go over to Kingdom 2 Crowns, which looks like it's an adventure, maybe? And it does have a solo campaign mode. I think it's made for co-op, but there's a solo mode, so I should be able to theoretically play it. So yeah, I will BRB. About 5 minutes probably to shift over.